Hello and welcome to our fourth and final tutorial on painting the Wardens from Shadows of Brimstone. In the previous videos, what we were looking at was we did the NMM iron, we have done the rust and the leather, and we also did some of the electricity here along with the OSL. So if you haven't seen those and you want to see how I approach doing each of those steps, please go and check out the videos. But what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be painting the base. Now, here is what I've done earlier, where we've kind of got this blasted wastes base with a very kind of sandy kind of look to it, but quite vibrant sandy look to it. What we're going to be doing with this one is we've got similar areas on here, but we've also got a pool of water here, and it's a very, very kind of blue, really blue water that we're going to be going for. So we're going to be painting this one up right now. So let's get started. Okay, for the water, what we're going to do is just do something very, very simple. We're just going to get some deep blue from AK here, and we're just going to mark out the area. So we put down some paint, and I'll get me a bit of a bigger brush than what I usually use because we're doing a larger surface area here. And we're going to take that blue, and we're just going to paint in all of this area here. Okay, and it's got some pretty good coverage on the paint, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. See you in a moment. Okay, so there we go. It's all been blued out. I was a little bit messy with it, but that's okay. It was good to start with the blue because it's recessed compared to the little islands of sand that we've got. They'll be much easier to paint, which I'm actually going to do now. And we're going to be painting them using our burnt umber. So I'm going to just start applying that now. Just doing all of the islands, plus all the little bones and things that are on the base as well. All right, there with some of the base done in terms of base coating. What we want to next do is go into the water, and we're going to be just highlighting some of the surface to try and give it some ripples and waves. We're going to be doing that with our archaic turquoise from AK. And initially, we can just put down some of this. And if we want to take our time with it, what we can always do is we can take some of the previous layer, which was the deep blue, mix that with the archaic turquoise, and we get a nice color that's kind of in between. It's just leaning into the turquoise just a little bit. And we can use this to start just getting kind of like a smoother blend between the colors. So this one can be fairly what's the word? We can be fairly broad with these strokes, as the larger surface area with the very, very small color change isn't going to really affect much. But it will allow us to kind of create better transitions as we go. That was just a quick one. So let's try again, this time with the pure turquoise, and see what we get. This time, a little bit more careful the placement. The base itself has some contours and lines to follow for the waves, so that makes it a bit easier for us. As we go on, we can now add a little bit of white as well. I've still got some white on my palette from the previous video I was making, so I'm just going to borrow some of that as I can still use it. I'm going to mix that in, make that nice light turquoise. And again, just applying it where we can. I think I can probably just water that down just a tad. It's coming across a little bit thick. We need it a little bit thinner. May just go up at just a little touch more. a bit of a watered texture on there as we've painted it. It's a bit stylized, a bit cartoony, but I think it works. It's all right. Let's come back to the earth now. So here it's very, very dark brown at the moment. It just looks like mud. What we're going to be bringing in is we're going to be bringing in a little bit of scrofulous brown. Anything that's kind of this yellow brown could really work. To be honest, you won't actually need it to be exact like this because we're going to be covering up a lot of this with pigment powders afterwards. But for now, what we're doing is just raising the brightness of the ground to make it look a little bit more like a sandy, blasted wasteland. We're going to just mix in that brown that we've used before, the burnt umber, mix it in with some of the scrofulous brown, make this nice in between. And we're just going to go over everything, almost like a little bit of a dry brush. Just kind of catching a lot of the surface there. Not being too exact or anything, we're just giving it some volume of color. But if that comes through on the bottom of the pigment when we apply that, hopefully will still look quite nice. There we go. We're starting to look like something now. Okay, we're going to go with the pure scrofulous brown this time, and we're going to just kind of spot this on as well. Just like that. Now it's getting nice and bright, but we've still got some of that textured color coming up from underneath. It's starting to look like something now. It's starting to look interesting as a base. Right, there's still some bones on here. We want them to look a little bit different from the blasted wastelands. So what I'm going to be using for that one is we're going to be using a little bit of the heavy brown, and we're also going to be using a little touch of ivory as well. The ivory is just a little bit more of a not quite white, obviously. It's an ivory. Got like a touch of yellow in it, or a touch of brown, but it's very, very faint. Still pretty close to white, but it works really nicely for things like bones and things like that. So I'm going to be using some of that. We'll just put that one down on our palette as well. Sorry, my palette's getting a bit messy with lots of different things here. We don't need very much. We should be okay. So first of all, let's go and give a layer on with the heavy brown. We take the heavy brown, and where the bones are, we're just going to be highlighting them, kind of making them help stand out a little bit. And you notice the heavy brown is actually pretty close to the brown that we've now painted the floor with. So it is actually kind of blending in a little bit too much, more than we want to. But that's okay, that's okay. We're just going to keep going like this for the minute. We'll make it pop out a little bit in a second. So I just want to grab all the bones, catch all the kind of pointed surface areas, anything that's kind of facing right up towards the sun, and that's what's going to be catching the light. That's the only bones there that we have. Now we're going to be mixing it with the ivory. This is where it's going to pale it right down, and it should then start to stand out from the rest of the model, or rest of the base, should I say. Yeah, you'll see now it's like standing out a little bit. We can see, okay, yep, there's a bone there. Let's try and actually go a little bit more pure ivory as well, just to really make it stand out for us. And this one, we only need a little bit, but just catching the bones where they've kind of bleached in the sun a bit. I might have overdone it, but that's okay. I'm going to be putting pigments on it soon. That should be all right. There we go. Now the bones are standing out on the base quite nicely. Just by adding that ivory on there, it really makes a difference. Now, to really make the base a little bit special, what we're going to be adding is a couple of pigments. Here I've kind of got a dark yellow ochre. This is going to be my main pigment. This is kind of like matching the color that I'm going for the blasted sand. But then we also add a little bit of dark red ochre. This is for a couple of things. One of them is just to give the sand a little bit more kind of color and kind of an interest, you just kind of put a little bit in, add a little bit just to recolor some areas, which is quite nice. But we can also use this to accentuate some of the rust on the model as well. So let's go and apply. We're going to start with the yellow. So I'm going to just take a bit of the powder that we've got there. It's just pure pigment, so it's quite strong. And then I'm just going to start dabbing it into place. So I just start dabbing it across the area of the model that I want, and then just kind of working it in to the base there. There we go. You can start to see it building up a little bit, giving it a little bit more oomph. And it looks like it's an actual dusty kind of place as well. You give it a little blow to just blow it off there. There you go, you can see that there. I'm going to add that to all of the sanded areas. There we go, that's looking all right. So now we've got that so far. What we also want to do is we want to put this character into the world a little bit. So we're going to use some of the pigment powder to also just pat around the feet where he's been stepping in this kind of blasted sand a little bit. So we're going to just take a little bit of it and we just dab it around the feet a little. Just like that. And now it looks like he's been pounding around in the sand. And he's just got a little bit more of a place in this world. So now that's with all the yellow done. Now we can add in the red. And what we can do is we can just kind of choose some spots and just work it in a little bit. Just give it some variation there across the yellows. It mixes in quite nicely. We can work it into some of the leg there as well. And there we go. We've got this lovely little transitional blend. It blends so nicely and so easily. So we don't need much. We'll just take a little bit, maybe work in some here. A little bit over there. Maybe there. And that's really all we need. I want to go overboard because ultimately I want it to read as yellows, but with like a little bit of red just to give it some variation there. Okay, but what we can also do is we can add a little bit more of a stronger look to the rust and things. So wherever we want the rust to be a little bit stronger, so I might put some up here, might put some over here, maybe around here, right into the work. Just down here, this is looking very rusty here. So I'll work that one in. It just gives it an extra bit of oomph to really kind of make it look like the rust has been building up a little bit over time in these areas, and there's some bits that are really strong. There we go. That's looking a little bit more vibrant there on there. So I'm just going to go around and do the rest of the model this way. And there we go. We've basically got a finished model. The last thing you got to do is just put black around the rim, and then you got a nice finished model there. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm going to be thinking about what I'm going to do next for my next kind of painting videos. But if you have any ideas of what you would like to see, please leave them down in the comments. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.